So now that you have used your bait, and normally when you do your baiting, the cage is already there, so the birds are used to this weird structure next to them, and you get them to really consume the food in the baiting process. All you do is you basically open the cage and you put the bait inside. So the cage itself comes in two units. So you've got what we call the trapping unit, and you've got what the holding unit. So these two just hook in like this and they become one unit, but it's just, why they're separate, it's just for easy transport when you fetch them and when you bring the cages back. So they just hook in like this. So the best is, like I say, is this is easiest or most effective if it's off the ground, like on a garden table or a bench and your deck or wherever, because the birds trust the cage better if it's off the ground. So they basically go in here. Make sure when you put the food down that it's not in front of the entrance, right there, because we found the birds actually go grab the food and they reverse out. So they've got to come really in. And if I turn this around, can you see how difficult it is to spot the corridor where they go in, and even this gap here where they're supposed to come out? So the wire confuses them and they can't get out. They basically try to get out, they struggle, and then this is what we call the holding cage, and it's got an entrance in here one way, and this one hooks on there. They go into this. This one always has to have water and food and a bit of shade. So these two work together. The Myna goes in here, and then when you bring them in to be euthanized, you can actually take them out of this cage into just a little transport cage, or you bring the whole unit to us and we remove the Mynas for you. And this one, keep the Mynas in there for no longer than morning of day 3, you have to bring them in. So maximum 2 days in here. So why do you want to keep them in 2 days? It's because once the first one is in, I always say it's like these National Geographic movies where videos where the penguins all float on the stand on the floating ice, and nobody wants to jump first because they're afraid of predators. But once the first one jumps, everybody follows. So once you catch the first one, he actually becomes a caller bird to call all the others in. But there's a limit. So even with all the food and water here, the ethics of this is the birds start stressing and they lose condition, and eventually they die from stress. So we found that 2 days maximum. The main thing is when you bring them in, you never go, so when the bird is in here, you can put food and water in. You can supply that every day, but quick and you move away. Do not touch this bird, because once he gives an alarm call, you'll never catch the rest of them in this cage. They won't trust this. So you remove this cage, remove them into your garage or into an outdoor, your laundry, wherever after sunset, so that the birds that's still outside does not make that connection. And then you can bring them in, be euthanized, and you can start the process again. Baiting, setting the trap, and that process can happen week after week after week until you catch all of them. Most effective we've had so far was an Italian woman. I keep telling people, and she was amazing. She would bait from Monday to Friday. Friday she set the cages, Monday she brings in everything that she caught. And she caught in 3 weeks 21 Mynas. And that was a really effective, so I've learned from that. So main things is do your baiting, keep the cage off the ground, and once you've got birds in there, do not disturb them while you trap others. Do not go close to the cage, because they give off a warning sign. And that's the easy setup of trapping your Mynas. We have got this design, which I absolutely love. So we are hoping to make more of this design. So this is one unit. There's your trapping unit, and the Myna goes in here. They can't get out. They fly in here, and this one will then have your perch and your water and food up at the top. And this is one unit. And we are definitely going to try and make some of these. Then there's also on the Facebook page, it's called Myna Trap, where you can buy cages, which is all based on the same principle. So each design looks slightly different. Logan makes their own, for instance, that looks slightly different. Toowoomba Menshet makes their own, but they're all based on the same thing. We have a trapping unit and a holding unit, but they all form the same function.